You want to talk to a girl who is not pregnant, to tell her avoid pregnancy at all costs. Yeah. It's not easy. You have been a teenage mother.
Yes.
You have been, I don't know if you're comfortable to talk about, you've been gun raped, because that's something you have put it out there yourself.
Yes.
And you're here with a huge testimony. Ebu tell us from the beginning. So guys, good people, Naitanga my people, welcome and welcome back to this channel. If you're new here, my name is NJOKI Kabiru. If you're always here, you know me as Jerua Kafiru, and I want to welcome you to today's content. It's hot, it's amazing. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
If you're a girl who is pregnant out there, there is hope. Look at us.
Look at us.
Look at us.
Who would have said?
Who? Who is God? You want to talk to a girl who is not pregnant, to tell her avoid pregnancy at all costs. It's not easy. Celine, it's just amazing to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Jerry. I'm honored to be here. Yeah.
I know we met 2 weeks ago, and I feel like we are best friends. Like we've known each other for 10 years.
We've known each other for years. Just that we have never met. We never met before. Yeah.
I'm so glad to have met you. I feel like my circle is becoming healthier with people like you.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you.
You have been a teenage mother.
Yes.
You have been gun raped, because that's something you have put it out there yourself.
Yes.
And you're here with a huge testimony. Ebu tell us from the beginning, where are you brought up?
I was brought up in Kabete.
Gafete.
Oh, Kabete, just here near Nairobi.
Yeah, there's that Kikuyu song,
Kabete. I know, right?
And you guys have a very
like a history.
Yes.
But we're not bad, by the way.
Know.
It's just a myth, and yeah.
Don't worry, after meeting you, me, I'm confident with all Kapete ladies.
I'm the best there can be.
I know. So you brought up in Kabete?
Yes. I was brought up in Kabete. Mom left when I was 4 years old. Yeah, it's just still a domestic. I don't know
what happened.
Wrangles in her marriage with dad, and she left when I was only 4 years old.
Wow.
And she left us with dad. She never came back. I met my mom.
So you and who?
Me, my brother who follows me. I'm the firstborn. My brother who follows me, and then she left with a younger brother. Yeah. And she never came back. I actually met my mom for the first time in all those years, 2 years ago.
What did you tell her the first thing?
What could you tell her if it were you?
I have so many, you know, the process in my brain.
At that point I had healed. Yeah, it's a journey I walked, and I needed to meet her to know my, you see, my identity and to know myself. Yeah, I didn't even know how she looked like. Yeah, and
2 years ago.
2 years ago, it was.
And it's a work in progress, the relationship.
Yeah, it's a work in progress, because you cannot just bond with a person when you're an adult yourself.
Yes,
yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So she leaves you when you're 4 years old with your brother. So your father takes care of you.
Yes, my father takes care of us. And then
how was that experience? Do you remember? Like, was he a
Let me tell you something. I loved my dad. Actually, I think even when my mom was there, I used to be my dad's favorite.
That is girl.
That is girl. Yeah, because I loved my dad. Yeah, and the small memories I have of him is a girl who was so loved. Yeah, because during the weekends he would take me. He would go with me to his drinking sprees. Yeah, and to work with me. He would bring me nice things. I remember him bringing me very beautiful dresses. Because my dad had friends from abroad, and they used to bring nice things for him. So he would bring me beautiful dresses, beautiful shoes. I was in a good school at that time, in the 80s, late 80s. I was in a very good nursery school, one of the best. Yeah, and he really, we were very close.
So he brings you up. Where do teenage pregnancy come in? Or, and you keep on saying he was.
Yeah. He passed on when I was 7 years. He had a road accident and he passed on.
He passed on.
Yeah, and I was 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I was in class 2. 7 years I was in class 2.
So you've lost your mom. She's there, but you lost her. It's a loss.
Her, yeah.
Then you lose your dad. Then where do you go next?
To my grandparents. We actually lived in the same compound. So I moved from this house now to this house.
Wow.
Yeah. And my uncles were there, my aunties were there, my dad's sisters and brothers. So it was a big
community.
Yeah. And as soon as my dad passed on, I think life changed for us. Because you don't know if you're grieving or not. Yeah. Because you don't even know, you're not even sure what has happened to him.
Because no one sat you
down and said, your dad is not coming back. He has died. You're just thinking about it. No one even told you that he died. You had conversations. Yeah, and you saw people.
I never know why they did that.
I don't know why. Yeah, so it was that, and he was gone.
And everyone around you grieves, but they assume you're a child.
You're a child.
You're not supposed to grieve.
True. And he was buried. And as soon as he was buried, I was moved from that school.
Of course. Pole sana.
Now to a public school.
Zitango CDF with a long name.
I'm telling you. And now I have to start living another life, as in this is not something you're used to, but you have to. And nobody's telling you, because of this and this, we have to take you here. So I guess I got so used to flowing with life. Yeah.
However direction it takes you,
yeah.
So your mom goes away, you're 4 years, your dad passes away, no one is communicating.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that as a child? What were, they are called what, the things that you showed grief? Because some people become rebellious, others become other things. How was your process then?
I don't know, I can't remember.
You can't remember much?
Yeah, I can't remember much, but also after dad passed on, his cousins, see those cousins who come from the village to live with you guys because you're near Nairobi,
yeah.
And then they come from Mushago and they're attending university. They started molesting me, and I've absolutely no one to tell me.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm living in a place where my grandfather is an alcoholic, as in he can't function without alcohol. My whole life I've never seen him sober. Yeah. And my grandmother on the other end
is a born again Christian. I know this story. I'm telling you, I know this story.
She's a believer.
Fire fed.
I actually let me tell you something. I used to hate speaking in tongues because she would speak in tongues from morning till evening. And then I'm embarrassed because my friends.
I know.
So
even being molested, because of that, you're not even able to go tell her, because that's a sin.
That's a sin.
And it's not your fault.
And it's not my fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on the other end, I've become a rebellious child. There's this, ukifanya kitu, I was whipped. Nilikuwa nachapwa by my dad's brothers and sisters. They don't understand why I have changed, because I would do things to seek for attention. I would pick money. I would seeking attention, and nobody cared. So instead of sitting me down and asking what is going on,
was whipping.
It was whipping. Yeah, and I have scars all over my body. You see this scar? I was whipped with that pipe, big pipe for the ile pipe ya maji, water pipe. I was whipped with water pipe. I have scars all over my body. And then I was a bedwetter. I bedwet till Form 2. And then I used to be pinched because now, why are you bedwetting at this age? But what they didn't know is that it was affecting me, being beaten. My dad, the fear. My dad has passed on. I'm being molested, and nobody knew. So what I did is I created my own world, and my own world was in books. I read books. I read books. I read John Kiriamiti in class 1 and 2. Wow. I read Sidney Sheldon in class 3 and 4. Mills and books. I was always reading. Even when the teacher is in class, I have a book on my lap reading.
Books can be addictive.
Yeah.
And they make you have an imagination that is beyond
you, actually beyond you and beyond your age. And I was so good in English and composition writing, but I failed in mathematics terribly. I mean, terribly. I never understood anything in mathematics. Actually, my daughter asked me sometimes, Mom, did you go to school? Where did you go to school? Your teacher never taught you math. And I'm like, leave me alone. Yeah, so...
But languages, you are good in them.
Good. I actually, my first composition, I had 30 over 30 in class 4. My best friend, I had 30 over 30. I was so good in languages. Actually, the teachers used to call me linguistic, a linguist, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. So, that was basically my life. And, yeah.
So you grow, here you are 7 years, 8 years, you're growing. Where does that man, that who swept you
off my feet,
off your feet,
the Prince Charming,
you know, I keep on telling, literally, you are back then it was you're the only being in the Giberi.
I think those are the words, exactly the same words.
So I was a bit about him.
I was 15 when I met him, and he was a cousin to my friend. And you see, by this time, I had moved to a day school.
Because it's a boarding. It's a high school.
It's a high school because I used to be sick. I had ulcers, and at one point in Form 2, I was admitted for 2 months. Yeah, and so they would come, my aunties would come for me on Fridays and take me to see the doctor on Saturday, and then I would be taken back to school on Saturday. So it was a hassle, so they decided to take me to a day school. And that is when I met him.
This guy,
he was
he in school?
No, he was not in school. He was a cousin to my best friend. And one of those afternoons you don't want to sit for maths. Yes. Your friend tells me, let's go home. And there you meet his cousin, this handsome dude. And he falls in love with your smile.
And you fall in love with him being
tall.
You
fall in love with him being tall. Yeah, so at 15, I thought I was in love. And he thought he was in love. And within no time, I found myself pregnant. At 15.
Yes. You're just a child.
I'm just a child. He's also a child. Yeah. And
so take us there. Let's go pole there, step by step. How do you find out you're pregnant?
I missed my periods.
I know that.
I was in Form 3, and I remember the second day, it was on a holiday, August holiday, and the second day we went back to school. I used my money, my pocket money, to see a doctor. I actually told my friend, take me to see a doctor, and she took me to see a doctor, and I had a positive pregnancy result, and I told her it has turned negative. I never told her that I was pregnant, because of course at that age your mind is wondering what's next.
Yeah. So the doctor called you aside, at least told you you're pregnant.
Yes. You know, my friend is waiting at the reception.
Yeah.
So it's me and the doctor. Yeah, and that's how I found out I was pregnant. I didn't tell anyone. And the second person to tell now was the baby daddy. Yeah.
How does he take it?
Shocked. He was shocked and he didn't accept. He said, no, I cannot be a father. I'm too young.
At least he didn't say it's not mine.
He said, he didn't say it's not his.
He's like, I can't be a father.
I can be a father. Yeah. And
so did you think about abortion?
Yeah. Not me, actually.
Him.
Not him. A friend of mine. I shared with another friend of mine. And she told me, you can't have a baby. Look at the situation.
Yes.
Your situation, you can't have a baby. I'll take you to have an abortion. And I said no. I said no. And she kept nagging me, insisting. And then that thought started now being planted in my mind. Until now, one of my relatives took me to an abortion clinic. Yeah.
How does the relative find out?
Now they have, at this point, I have left. One of my uncles has said, I'll live with her. They don't know yet that I'm pregnant. So from Kabete, he took me to Roysambu. He used to live in Roysambu. And I got to share with the house girl. And she told him.
A snitch.
Yeah. That one.
You had really trusted her?
I had really trusted her. And then I was beaten for 3 hours. My uncle bet me. He actually asked me to put on a short.
So he comes home, he's like, put on a short?
Yes.
You don't know what's going on?
I knew. Each time he told me put on a short, I knew there was going to be a beating. So I knew. He asked me first and asked me who the father was. I didn't tell him. And he asked me to put on a short. And he used to beat me with those, what do you call them? Electricity wires. Yeah. And he beat me for 3 hours until now I couldn't take it anymore. I crumbled in a corner. Yeah. And I stopped feeling pain. You see, when you're beaten until you become numb, I stopped feeling pain. And yeah.
Sad.
Yeah. And then at 12.
He didn't did he have a wife who would
He had a wife.
take care of you or something?
No. And then he threw me out. He threw me out. And that night, in the middle of the night.
So he throws you out at night?
And asked me to go look for my mom. And that is when I left.
And this is a mother you don't know where she is. You've not had.
I don't even know how she looks like.
Because the last time you saw her was 11 years ago.
Yes.
When you were 4 years old.
When I was 4 years old.
So where do you sleep that night?
You see where the watchman sleeps? I slept there with the watchman.
With your short.
With my short.
Remembering the short.
And my blouse.
And the markings of the beatings.
Yes. And in the morning, I went to my baby daddy's cousin, and I told him what is happening, and he took me to him. At this time, he was in JQuat. So I went to him, and I...
With your short, sorry.
With my short.
It's not funny, but with your short, I have to keep on reminding you.
With my short.
Yes.
Now, I also, around 2 weeks later, I went back to my uncle's house. Because I needed clothes, and I'm also a child. I'm confused.
You're trying to figure out.
I went back, and my auntie told me, I'll take you somewhere tomorrow. Now his wife, and she took me to an abortion clinic and paid. And I'm there seated at the reception, and I'm hearing the screams inside there. Yeah, of the other women who are having abortion. I told the receptionist, where is the washroom? And she gave me the key. I never came back. Yes.
You went with the key? You're crazy.
There's no way I was going to have an abortion. And also, you see, the stories out there, those days,
you will hear the sound
early
of the baby.
2000, 2001.
Yes.
That when you have an abortion, you'll never have another baby.
You'll hear the sounds of the baby.
You'll hear the sounds of the baby. You might die. Who knows? And so that is how I left. And I went back now to my baby daddy. And that is how we started life in JKUAT. He is going to classes and coming back to our wife.
I know. And what are you doing during the day?
Nothing, sleeping. You see, when the pregnancy is small, you sleep a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. And I used to sleep and then sit at night.
You never thought about school?
No. I never thought about school. Yeah. But then I couldn't go back to school now that I was pregnant. Yeah, but he dropped. And we went back to school and registered.
Back to the school that you were going to.
Yes, and registered for my exam. But I couldn't just be in school because now the stigma and
the village,
all those things.
But at least you registered. Who came up with the idea of registration? Him.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wacha tumklapie kwa hiyo. So you at least you have registered, now you're waiting to do your
exam.
You're not even studying. Unagoja tu kwenda kukalia your exam.
I'm not studying, by the way. How can I study and I am pregnant and I'm starting to figure out now I'm in a very new marriage, I'm young.
You're a child.
I'm a child and nobody taught me about marriage. Actually, the only model I knew of a marriage was my grandparents' marriage, which was abusive. And also I'm married here with a person who is not even, he doesn't even know that if he's ready to be a father or not. And
but his family like received you guys well.
Yeah, like they didn't have an option.
They didn't just receive you well, it's only that they didn't have
an option. Yeah, and I thank God for that because I don't know where I could have gone. I didn't have an option.
Couldn't go to uncle. You ran away with someone's key.
I ran away with someone's key.
They had paid for the abortion that you didn't do.
No, the stigma. I'm the first child in that home. And here I am pregnant. How? It's not even
realistic at that point. Hey guys, so where do we go next? You're there being a wife in a small room, received by the family. When does the baby come? Where do you get the baby's clothes? How do you go to the hospital? Because I know back then the hospitals were not free. The maternity care was the most expensive. How do you navigate that?
Let me tell you something. At this point, I have learned to flow with life. If I die, I die. If I live, I live.
And people used to give birth in the house, say that.
Yes, either way, I'll give birth or whatever will come. So, clothes we got clothes. I don't know from where, but he hustled, we got clothes. And my hospital bill, I went to hospital and I remember going to hospital and the doctor asking me, you're very young, you're supposed to be in class, in school. And I told him, I did biology and I did practicals. And I'm in labor. And the doctors just laughed. And I had a CS at 16. Yeah, and that is how I had my first child at 16. He was a very big child, weighing 4.5 kgs.
Wow.
Yeah. And that is how I became a mother. Actually, I looked at my son and saw, I don't know, when I looked at him, I lost hope in myself. You see the way parents embrace their children. I looked at him and I saw like I have lost my whole life. Like, why? You're not supposed to be here at this time.
Well, had you seen other girls who had gotten children and their life became more hopeless? Had you seen that before?
No. Oh, I was ignorant or something. But when I looked at my son, he stayed in the what do you call them? The nursery for
the ICU. No. Yeah,
nursery for 2 weeks because he was tired. And so when they brought him to me, I had not even breastfed him. I looked at him and so, like, I have lost my hold. I felt so hopeless. I didn't even touch him. The way the doctor put him here on my arm, that is how my auntie found me. She's the one who wiped him and put clothes on him. Yeah.
So who pays the hospital bill?
My auntie. I had another auntie who passed on later. She lived in the UK. She's the one who paid for my hospital bill. Yeah. And I had to embrace my child. Yeah.
Well, now next, from the hospital home, we will be right back with more of this story.